Yo guys, good evening. We're back and Magnus is looking pretty goddamn hot right now. I've just affixed him to the base. He's just pinned on there loosely. I've got a little bit of base work just to bed him in a little. And of course we've still got things like the talons and so on to do, so I don't want to stick him on there fully just yet. But I thought it'd be interesting to see what he looked like. And frankly, how gargantuan he was. Too many screws. Too many screws? Oh, it's been a long day. Too many sprues. How you doing, man? Rock on indeed. Thank you for that emote as well. 7 months, dude. 7 months. It's a long time. I see in the whip gallery you've been having some issues with priming. With that mini, did you strip it prior to priming? Has there been paint on that before? Because I think that might be your issue. In the chat, we got Viking XDK. Loner in the crowd. Of course, too many sprues. Fish. Celtic Craig, Chimo, Kurtan89, Commissar Bob 2. Bet it feels a lot longer. It might do to him. You know. Right, let's just clear some of this out of the way. Tonight we're going to be working on this flaming orb. This is tonight's project. All the rest of this, just popping off to one side. So we can marvel at this right now. Doing well, Kurtan. How are you? So, this is as far zoomed out as the camera goes. And you can see we've got a little bit of work left on the base, the talons, just digging into the ground there. So we're going to just carve out a little of that ground, let the talons sink in. Here, it's just a little on the step as well. We need to just iron that out a bit. But here is Magnus. His sword's just been blue tacked on for now. But here's where we're at. What a majestic beast. Look at that. So, very, very happy with this. Hopefully everybody else likes it as much as I do. But I am over the moon with that right now. To give you some idea of height, I'm guessing that here's a bottle of cider, right? That's not tall enough, and that's got to be 10 inches. So I don't have a tape measure to hand, unfortunately. Oh, I might have a ruler in this room. Do I have a ruler? Is that a ruler? Yes. Happy days. He is 11¼ inches tall. 11¼ inches tall. That means he is taller than a Warhound Titan, I think. Reasonably short, taller than a Warhound Titan. And despite being about 1/4 of the points, clearly more powerful. When you say it wasn't completely stripped, that makes it sound like that might be what your problem is. It could very well be that there wasn't enough washing done after you did the stripping, perhaps. Right, here's where we're at tonight. I'm going to paint this flaming mystical ball. I'm going to do it blue. I'm going to start off with... Do we even need to darken this down? No, I might need that later on. So we'll grab it. No, got some black and some blue going on. Obviously got some flow improver. So too many sprues. I've seen a few issues that people have had when they've stripped a miniature. They got to prime it, and some of the solution that they've used to strip the mini is still there. It's not completely gone. Which means that if you have then applied your primer to that, that's going to stop it adhering correctly to the miniature, and that frequently is what happens. A friend of mine had a Tau army, he stripped it, tried to repaint it, left some of the biostrip on there without realizing it, and nope, absolutely not. Celtic Craig, that is the best life choice right there. Airbrush for life. So we're starting off with some Signar Blue Highlight. It's the lighter of the two Signar Blues. And I've just masked off all of this part of the pillar. I shouldn't be able to, I should be able to hold the pillar like this and cover the rest of it, so no paint on there. But just to cover all of that area to stop any easy overspray. I don't mind this bit on the top getting covered because we're going to have a little bit of OSL. We're just going to have more of a glow than a proper light source, and we'll just darken down some of that and brush highlight this little ring around the edges. What we're really concerned with today is making sure all these areas of flame get some nice shadows and so on. So here's where we're at. Jager, how you doing? Lower Christ, I got my first ever this month. I can't believe I ever got by with that one. Mate, they're a game changer. Speaking of tan, what's a good light orange you can put on with a brush? They're going to pick up a squad as a painting project to begin with. Orange is a bastard to paint anyway with a brush. They have really, really bad pigments, almost universally. So it's a very difficult paint to use, just in general. That being said, GW's regular orange, their Troll Slayer orange rather, that's pretty good. I like it. It's usually my go-to orange. I did pick up a super bright orange not long ago from P3, which I really like, which was Ember Orange. Big fan of this. Pretty vibrant. I'm liking that a lot. But getting that brushed on is going to be tricky. What you may want to do is go 50-50 orange and red as a base coat and then work up the orange into it anyway. So essentially doing that as an undercoat to help set the tone just a little bit. Mate, P3 are awesome. If I could only choose one company's paints to use for the rest of my time, it'd be P3. So those of you that watched Thursday's stream will remember that I said if I didn't set up commands for certain things that we get asked frequently, I'd drink a double shot of hot sauce and chase it with a double shot of tequila. Now, I did set up commands. I chose not to set up two different commands. So, slight bit of real talk. Because this is about to become my main job, and because this is about to be how I keep the lights on, how I pay the bills, how I feed myself, and so on, I need to be a little bit more selective with who I promote. So you'll notice there's a exclamation point Frozin command still in the chat from my man right there, Mr. Chris Frozin. But I'm about to start a Patreon and a YouTube account that we're doing content specifically for, and so some of the commands that were suggested by Des to sort of push people towards other people's YouTube channels and stuff, I decided against. So we did get the commands done. No habanero sauce for me, but people like my man Chris there over here on Twitch, I will give that boy as much love as possible, and he's a great community member as well. Chris, did you see my incredible haul of Necron shit today that I posted on Instagram? Element Games came through strong. Let's just leave it at that. So did the Amazon Logistics delivery man. He had to do some heavy lifting to get out to my front door. Much love, brother. Much love. That's going to be my last sort of toy soldier purchase for a while. For myself, at least. With the exception of the new Necron Cryptex. That's the only thing we haven't had yet. It's the new flayed ones, which everyone assumes is coming out with this new Kill Team Rebox and the new Cryptek variants. That, Chris, that is going to become the things that we paint for the Necronathon 2 Judgment Day. So stay tuned for that. Warren Cap, this does mean I'll be streaming more. Probably less in the evening. Well, no, I'll probably do the same amount in the evenings, but probably also put in a very morning stream. So like maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock start stream. And then the afternoon stream on another day. So we might do Monday afternoon, Tuesday evening, Wednesday might be a morning stream, Thursday evening, Friday day off, Saturday, well, Friday will come round to being YouTube/Patreon video release day. And then Saturday day off, Sunday stream. So to catch a few people up that obviously are out of the loop, I found out not this week but last week on Tuesday that I was going to be made redundant. There's very little chance of me keeping my job because my entire department is being made redundant. The company has decided that they're moving away from the technology side of the energy industry and just going to stay as a supplier, which obviously we all feel is a very short-sighted thing for them to do, but it is what it is. And so as a consequence, we are going to be no longer employed. Now, I've got a redundancy payout, which is not massive by any stretch of the imagination, but because it's 3 months worth of salary plus some extra bits and pieces, I have enough to be able to support myself for, if I am frugal with things, about half a year. And that's without any other income turning up at all. Which means I can try and push this a little bit more. We can try and do more streams. I can take on more and larger commissions. So the Dark Angels commission that I was going to do almost doubled in size. We've got a Necron commission to do in December, which we can probably get a few other bits alongside now as well. We'll be painting the Silent King and the Void Dragon in November. That's going to be sick. And then we sort of move on from there. We're going to get some tutorials and stuff for Patreon. So just coming in with a straight up Signar blue. Nice. We've got a little mixture of that and black to begin with. Now I'm just going to start popping out some of these. We'll leave that black right at the base. Build up a nice brightness towards the top of the dome here. And then start working some magic onto these flames as well. We want this blue flame to end up being a fairly pastel, quite bright blue. I've got a way of doing it which I think is going to work quite well. So, oh, itchy nose. Yeah. Let's start by establishing a really bright blue. It's the same blue, essentially, we had on Magnus himself. Let's get all of the flames looking nice and bright. Trying to leave a little bit of darkness just in here. Some of the undersides as well, we'll keep that a little darker too. Get in here a touch. Ichu! Thank you very much, dude, and welcome. It's 4 months now, man. Finally getting those more streams I've been asking for. You are, mate, yeah. But you've got to be here, and frankly, lately, you've been a slacker. Bad biking. What can I say? So yeah, we'll probably go to 5 streams a week. 3 evening streams, a morning stream, and a daytime stream. I've got a rough schedule based on that. And we'll see how that goes for a while. And like I said, Friday will be a Patreon video, perhaps. I'm hoping to be able to get 1 out a week. It's just, I've never edited anything, really. There's a lot of learning to do there. So we'll see how it goes. Got a question earlier, which tank infantry is the most fun to paint? Don't you only have like 3 infantry really? Toonie Sprues, thank you very much for that host, dude. And we did another one as well. Des, absolute boss man. Cheers, brother. I'd say none of the fine cast stuff, so that leaves you with Fire Warrior / Breachers, right? That would be the one. So mixing in some Lothern Blue from GW. It's a really nice mid to bright blue. It's still got plenty of power behind it, but it has got a nice bit of brightness. And again, we're going to do the same thing. So start building up the brightness on the orb, and then get some of that coming up into the flames as well. So using a very small amount of paint, all the air pressure. And I'm just going to start bringing that up. A little bit of rocking motion on the trigger. Help keep our airbrush coat nice and precise. Just got something on the tip that I'm going to clean off. Warren Cap, thank you very much, dude. We tried. That's always the plan, is to try and be more of an educator than anything else. Like, although I'll take entertainer. That's not so bad. Post Cracker, I'm not going to use that as any kind of dissuadement. I'm afraid you'll just have to suck it up and live with it. Sergeant Craig not use the AK Extreme Metals. Pretty much like mostly moving away from anything AK Interactive after their recent complete fiasco. You can see we're starting to get that nice bright blue. What I don't want to have is this massive divide that we've got here. It's very easy to see the difference between the two. So we're going to get this up nice and bright, and then we'll take the airbrush from a distance and just blur that line out a little bit. The reason we're going from a distance is because we've got a more diffuse spray by the time it hits the mini. So you come right in up close for all of the work that needs to be very precise. Like I want to just get in here a little bit more. But that gives you a more concentrated cone of paint, so more of it hits the mini in a very tight sort of pattern. Going from a distance, you're going to get a little bit more of a softer effect. And we're just going to blur that line, like I said, just a touch. So you still see we've got that gradient coming in. Now we've really got that bright blue there. We're leaving some area around here just to try and keep that contrast. We don't want everything the same color. That would basically just give us a bright blue orb and bright blue flames, and if we want to do that, we could have just done this step right from the very, very start. We want that interest. When Endurance runs out, wait, what? So Mohawk OnlyFans when? Oh, hell no. Hell no. No one wants to pay to see that, mate. I'd only have like 3, I guess, fans on there. One would be my missus, who would do it out of pity. One would be one of the people from this chat that would do it so they could make some memes. The other one would be Rival Sarah. How you doing? Let's get some exclamation point tufts in the chat. How's it going, Sarah? We're painting fire today. This is really just gumming up the needle. What would I do? You would subscribe and support the Mohawk Miniatures OnlyFans account. That's what you'd do. Because you're a good lass. I wouldn't advise looking at anything on it. And before you ask, no, there currently isn't one. So we're trying to leave some of these darker recesses. Just trying to hit the sort of high ground. So using a little bit of overspray technique there. We want to get, like I said a minute ago, that sense of contrast, shadow and a light. That's what makes all of this look a lot more interesting. Get your bum out on only. Not a chance. Like I said, no one wants to see that. There we go. Now I'm going to take this to a very bright pastel blue. But I want to keep it vibrant. So the way I'm thinking of doing this is building this up using Sickly Skin, which has got a little bit of blue in it anyway. It's an off-white with blue. Binkerton! 8 months, dude. Nearly a Twitch baby. Just the beard oil. Oh dear. Time's that tough. God, I hope they never get that tough. If it's so tough I have to prostitute myself, I may as well just, like, give up there and then, let's be honest. The integrity of this craft is officially compromised. Too many sprues is stripping at the moment, you know. I mean, you know, he's definitely joining this conversation in the right way. But this Sickly Skin, like I said, is a little bit of blue in this. We'll be using that to highlight this up. I think if we can get this really, really pastel and then come back glazing in a coat of this Lothern blue over the top. So we should still get a lot of the high value we want out of this, but still have the vibrancy from that blue. Phrasing! Hey, he said it. Too many sprues. Your game's up, man. Everyone knows now. Everyone knows. Dear oh dear. It's too many sprues you're stripping name. People look like put like sanding sticks in your G string instead of dollar bills. Celtic Craig, thinking of the positives there. I like it, man. Stay upbeat. Speaking of positives, this is not a positive. What the fuck? This is the first time I've been personally affected, like on a really severe basis, by COVID. I've just had to buy another box of gloves. Pre-COVID, 6 to 7 quid for a box of 100 gloves. Right now, £21. I know it's a supply and demand, but motherfucker, what? We're going to be turning these bad boys inside out, back to front. It's going to be like Viking in his underwear routine. Look, they still fold. It's fine. Make sprue gloves. It'll be cheaper. Yeah, let's start melting down my spare sprues. Too many sprues. You could help out with this. Right, so going out with almost pure Lothern blue. Again, we'll start off on the orb itself. This could be the orb of Osavox. Let's see if anyone in the chat gets that reference. Just gone a little too hot with that blue. A little bit of a spider mark. But the last place we want it is right on there. You're at 20% royalties. That's a hard bargain, man. Polly, when you say you found them at an obscure auto shop, do you mean you snuck in while no one was there and found them? Right, just using air to cool this down before we start putting any more paint on, and now we're just going to come in and fuzz out that spider webbing. So using a little trigger rocking technique just to spit a little bit of paint out at a time. There you go, that's some pretty decent coverage right there. Now we hit the flames themselves. Again, coming in towards the top, trying to leave some of these little recesses nice and dark. So just spraying around that. Yeah, Amazon Prime still got the hookup on the gloves, but mother of God, they're so expensive now. Got to get 40-year-old model somehow. Hey, the book's coming out soon. Hopefully, they completely nerf the shit out of Marine Dreadnoughts. Relic Contemptor, what? So, who's doing some hobby tonight? Sarah, I bet, seeing as it is before 10 o'clock, you're still in the goddamn Batcave. No rest for the wicked, right? Doing random painting on Marines again. Nice. Nice. I liked your Marine comments up, Bob. It was good. Almost finished dripping fairy liquid. Work well. Also for gloves. Melt and down. Turn them into PVC for 3D printer. Gotta be resin, man. Gotta be resin. I'd be okay if some of the Forge Raw Dreads got the core keyword. Like any of their regular Contemptor variant. But not Relic. Not Mortis. But things like the Leviathan should not get the core keyword. Somebody in a group I'm in said, here's one. What would it be, do you reckon, if the Leviathan got moved to Lord of War slot? That's something outside the box, right? Sarah says, I'm actually indoors on the computer doing labels, then I'm going back to the Batcave to label 210 packs of base toppers. Motherfucker. Oh. You have had dinner, though. Nice. Nice. Chimo, that's awesome. Glad you won a game. Congrats. I got to play in a battle report yesterday. Let's get some exclamation point bunker in the chat. It's going to be a second battle report on the old Imperial Bunker channel on YouTube with myself playing. I took my knights, obviously a very competitive army as far as I'm concerned, up against a very good, very strong Iron Hands army. Marines still tough. Marines are still Marines, you know? Iron Hands are not the horrible terror that they used to be, but a lot of Primaris Iron Hands going up against a lot of damage to weaponry. That feel no pain makes my life substantially more difficult on paper. Inks, how you doing? So, within the next couple of weeks, possibly even just next week, that bat rep will be out. You guys have been asking for it, and to see me playing 40k, you'll have your chance. Working on your Warhammer Horror... Oh, dude! I got a friend that got something successfully submitted to their, like, one of their last, like, please send in some fiction stuff. I'm not sure if he's going to get published, or whether it was like a sort of audition, like interview piece. I haven't spoken to him in ages, but somebody told me he'd had something go well for it. Basil Star says, to be honest, the Hellforged Chaos Leviathan isn't too bad. If the Imperial ones drops to 5++, don't get caught, they drop shots from a storm cans, I think they're too bad. Also, in my opinion, Relic rule should be 1 per detachment. I think Relic rule should mean 1 per army. I'd see it go that far. I'd be happy with that. But Loner and Craig, what's the rough sort of breakdown of your story? What are you writing about? Alright, so here we go. Going super bright now. Got some of that sickly skin in there. And again, we start highlighting up from the orb. We're going to go right up through the flames. And just see where we're at with it. So, tiniest amount of paint. Keep it nice and steady. That little lump here on the front, by the way, is a flame. So, we want to still keep a nice darker shadow around that and brush highlight that up when we get to that stage of the process. So we're trying to avoid getting too close there. And just pumping up the values on the rest of this flame. So it's going to start being blurred out. Let's change the exposure settings just a touch. You see a bit more of what's going on. I remember when I was 16, I met someone entering Games Day Art Contest looking for work in England. You were in first place, but got hard spot. Nice! It is forward with Dreadnoughts. Mortis gains duty Eternal, doesn't gain Core. Regular Contempt against Core and DE. Relic gains duty Eternal, must take combat weapon. Yeah, I can see that. Leviathan gains nothing. Relics and should be 1 per relic. Data sheet per detachment. No doubles. I'd still take it per army. Like 1 relic in the entire army. These things are meant to be like sacred, you know, something that is kept in stasis. The poor fucker in there sees duty only in the most desperate of times when they need to wake him. So I think Relic Leviathan, Relic Contemptor, all these should definitely be 1 per army, 1 relic. Astro Militarum squad is going from site to command post. When transport is shot down, it all goes to shit. Survival horror. Awesome, dude. That sounds epic. Also, Relic Contemptor. That can keep its 2+ BS, I guess. Contemptor Mortis, free up. For that Relic Contemptor, you should be paying a massive premium for BS2. So there you go. So we're getting that nice bright element to our orb now. Start working these flames up again. Just touching the ends of these flames now. See how we're getting that contrast in there. Try and get a little bit more of the edge of this. So using that overspray technique, spray past the model, move your airbrush in just a little bit at a time to allow it to just start hitting those lines. Same here. Just to get that lower curve of that top flame. So see, we've got a darker area in the middle here, brighter all around the outside. Let's zoom in a touch. There you go. It's better if they're black because they fuck with the light balance more. Less. The original ones I had were all just like white skin tones or whatever, which are the cheapest ones. You know, that's all I cared about. But for the stream, black ones are better, unfortunately. Because I've got those sort of bluey purple ones that some absolute hero used as packing material. And I can't stream with those because they they absolutely annihilate the camera. So, it's a shame. Yeah, let's just hit that little middle section there. Get that bit nice and bright. A little bit further. And then again, just going to come back in, get a second pass of some of the brightest tips for these flames. Let's not forget the back. It's not like this would be in shadow from the flame, which is the source of the light, is it? Yeah, that'd be cool. But primary gloves black, problem solved. I like that. I like that a lot. We use that as the final solution if we can't find them anywhere else. But I did order a box of 100. You know, price is the price at the moment. The world is where it's at. The Rona, all that jazz. Going to try and get this middle flame picked out a little. There we go. So you see we've got that nice set of vibrant blues getting brighter. We're going to re-emphasize our shadows pretty soon as well. So I know it's looking a little bit bright all over. Don't worry, that's going to be knocked back a little bit. Just want to hit this edge as well. So again, use that overspray technique, spray past the miniature, and just bring your airbrush towards the model till it just hits it. Just sneak in that highlight. Right, let's flush a load of this, add in more sickly skin. Away we go. Saragon, that's awesome. I always found I created more problems than I solved, but you know, sometimes solved them in the same day. Kets, how you doing, man? Again, adding in some more sickly skin. Nearly out of this bottle of this, but got another pot ready to go. There we are, super bright. Not caught up in escape from Tarkov, was on a good streak till I died and lost my decent kit. I have no idea what that is, but I assume it's some kind of game. Right, let's come back in. Hit that orb. See where we were at before with our brightness. There we are now. You see it's still just got that blue tint to it, a little bit of blue hue, but much, much, much brighter. We'll start off, like I said, on the orb. We're just going to establish a couple of bright points. I want one just here. And a slight curve. So just bringing that airbrush round. We're going to accentuate this shortly with a brush. And this is why we're going to do 2 points. We want this swirl effect in there. So you can probably just about see that on camera. And now, earlier on when I did this highlight, you'll notice we just sort of did a straight, like, tick. You can do exactly the same thing. With our bright point just here in what would be the corner of that tick, and then run that, begin with along that same line. Like so. So you've got those 2 bright areas. What we're going to end up with is kind of a swirl pattern around here. These will connect and it will swirl off around the back to give another element, another piece of interest to this. So really, to shoot with RPG elements, if you die, you lose the gear you bring in with you. Oh, wow, okay. That sounds cool. Over there, I ripped a huge chunk of paint at the varnish stage. Oh, God, I hate that. That's rough. That's rough. Right, let's just hit the peaks of these flames now. So really amping those values up. Just get this little lower corner just a touch. Let's go down here now. Nice little ripple effect here. So again, using that overspray technique just to laser this in, hit their highlights. This one here, just want a little bit more on as well. Same deal. And then right here in the center, we're just gonna brighten that up just a touch. There's a little speckling, so we're immediately gonna stop. Take our brush, clean the tip. This happens a lot with lighter colors. I say this almost every stream we use anything bright through the airbrush, I feel. But anything that's kind of a white or off-white will clog on your needle a lot more than pretty much anything else. So just be very aware of the fact that you may get that speckling occurring, and when it does, stop straight away. Just clean that needle. So here we go. You can see we got a much brighter set of highlights on the flames themselves than we have on the orb. That's because for this, I feel the flames, the orb is like emanating light, but I want the flames to be brighter and hotter than the orb. Normally, if it was like OSL, this bit would be the brightest and it'd go upwards, but I want that to have like its own little glowing effect itself, and then the flames just bursting into presence as Magnus enters the room, reacting to his demonhood, perhaps. It's always good to have a bit of a story whenever you're painting something, I feel. Get that narrative element going on. There we go. So those flames looking super hot. Now what we need to do is bring in our shadows a bit more. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to grab a pipette. I've got a couple lurking around on my desk. Just a regular old plastic pipette. I'm going to bring all of that bright paint up out of the airbrush, because we're going to reuse this in a bit. So here we have a pipette of that bright blue. I'll stand that up on a desk so it can all just sit in there. Flush this all through. Because if we make a mistake with this level, this is our shadow layer now, we're going to start enhancing some of those areas of darkness. SickDim1, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. I want to be able to use that to go straight back in and just retouch those highlights. So just flushing this through. Haven't got any tissue out, so grab some tissue. And I'll show you guys Magnus as a whole at the moment. You can see why we went with, I hope you can see why we went with this bright blue as well. So this is the, I have to zoom right out for that. That was the orb. Here is the big boy himself. Just push his sword back in place. Just blue tacked on for now. As you can see, he is gargantuan. But this little orb sits just at the front of the base, this way around. So just in here, like so. Oh, he's lost his sword. Okay. obviously that's not glued down yet. Neither is Magnus himself, but here's where we're at. So see, we've got that bright blue that helps go in with the cloth, which helps tie him in to everything else on the scene. We've got this very natural, earthy, dull-coloured base, all done with pigments from Rival Crafts, and of course some touch from there as well. And that works up all the way through till we get this unbelievably vibrant, rich, bold and bright Magnus the Red. We've got those pastel coloured mother of pearl style wings in the background. They need some more work just on those sigils and the horns and so on. There's still plenty to do, but that's the blue, and that's how this interacts with Maggie. So let's carefully pop him back. And we measured him earlier on. He's 11¼ inches tall. So he's a fucking brute. You know, here's the biggest boy. If anyone knows the actual height of a Warhound Titan, I think it's less than 12 inches. I'm reasonably certain that Magnus on this base is taller than a Warhound. I'd love it if someone can confirm that. Right. Gonna get the flow improver back in. We're gonna go back to our Signar blue, but I think this time we're gonna grab some Signar blue base. So just a slightly darker version of our original base color blue. We went with this before. Now we're gonna go in with this. Oh! Look at that. Model stands approximately 10.5 inches high, but how the legs are constructed. Sarah, peace out, love. See you soon. So, Magnus is 3/4 of an inch taller than that Warhound Titan. Polly, no, I haven't, but that sounds epic. I'm talking to somebody on Discord here and there at the moment. It's kind of difficult to get a proper conversation going because we're in obviously different schedules, you know. About getting a marine statue painted for a potential December stream that might be a joint venture. But that's potentially a 200 to 300 millimeter tall marine. Now, if we paint a marine, it may either be a Chaos Marine or a Loyalist Marine. We don't know yet. Around Christmas, you know I'm going to be giving it away, right? You know that's going to be a giveaway in December. Gotta be. But we'd also need a community poll to see what chapter or legion it gets painted in. To start thinking, if you're going to have a massive marine statue, how'd you have it painted? I feel Jager's off on the right track already. Massive hazard stripes, no stranger to that. Right, we're going to use this to get in just around the base of the orb, just to make sure that that stayed relatively dark. And look at the difference between this point here and this point around here. It's just a little bit more power to it now. So make sure we get that in all the way around there. Looking a little bit more saturated, especially against that bright colour. Feather that out just a touch more. And to bring in our contrast back in. Okay, now we can start working up into the underside of some of these flames. So we need to be very careful here And this is the reason why we took that pipette of our highlight color and put that off to one side, so we've got it ready to go should we need to. Imperial Fist, Black Templars, Ultramarines, Blood Ravens, Rainbow Warrior, Get Out, Alpha Marine, possibly. Get Creative and turn it into a Grey Knight, not a chance. Paint it silver. Ta-da! If I could sculpt, I'd have made my own Nightbringer rather than just going, oh, fuck it, and buying the GW Fine Crab one. I was going to get one custom made, but with this redundancy thing, I'm like, well, can't really afford to have somebody sculpt that. Right, just got a little gob of that blue paint. You can see it just there. Just going to get a damp, not wet brush. Just try and pick that up. There you go. Sorted. Angry Marine. It's a sculpting part I meant when I said creative, mate. If I could, I would. It's something that I'd like to practice more to get it in my wheelhouse of things that I can offer as a commissioned artist. But I just don't have any ability to sculpt. Not really. I can do very, very simple things on 28mm miniatures, like a closed hand. I can do. You know, that's it. If it still stands to make one from an orc, mate, that would be sick. But I'm thinking just a straight up either Space Marine or Chaos Marine, depending on what we can get as far as like STL files for 3D printing and stuff. Oh, did you mean a Nightbringer? Lamenter, definitely get out. You're banned. That's it. You can sub. Thank you. Now go. A band's lost arms. Let's get some love in a stream for him, but not his suggestions. Lamenter. Oh, never. I once quoted somebody over $1,000 to paint 20 Lamenter assault marines with chainswords because I definitely didn't want to do it. Sure, mate, I'd love to get partner, but the first hurdle is the viewers are not over 70. So, you know, like, with my situation, being a Twitch partner rather than a Twitch affiliate would be amazing. But even when that gets to 70, I'm still not going to do the whole, oh, please take the raid thing out of the URL, and oh, please then just refresh the page. And oh, if you do have to go, just, you know, consider putting the stream on mute and leaving it on. These things are cheats. You know, when I get it, I'll have earned it. So, we'll see. It'll happen if it's meant to happen. That's it. Alright, so we're just hitting those recesses. Look at the difference between that flame there and then this one down here. That recess being a darker, sort of richer blue. Perfect. Turn it around. Just get into here now. And the reason we're going with this blue rather than a mixture of the highlight color blue and black is because this has got a little bit more vibrancy to it. That original coat, just a touch desaturated. This, keeping it absolutely real with that blue. Look at it. Alright. Just using my thumb to brace the airbrush off now. We're just going to start getting into these little tiny areas. So we want absolutely max power. We want the tiniest amount of paint. And we're using that little rocking motion technique to ensure that our shadow coat we're laying down now is in exactly the right place. Gotta be patient with this. There's no sense in rushing it now. Jaeger, he's okay with that one. Viking, we're looking a little bit yellow today, actually. It's just the light, but I was walking back from my girlfriend's and it was absolutely pissing it down. So a lot of the gel has just like disappeared out. There we go. So there's that nice shadow in that flame. We've got this one to do now, which is actually the hardest one because it's very narrow. So I'm going to get right up close to this. Holding that at an angle, so if we get any paint that sort of sprays in, it pushes itself along the crease. And again, using that rocking technique just to spit out a little paint at a time. So we do there on the glove, just clear a tiny bit of blockage so we can get just nice and sharp in that recess. Right, we've got one more to do here, and then we've got the tricky bit around this part of the flame. That's the hard part. Yeah, affiliate is 50. Affiliate is 50 viewers. Partner is Partner is 70 viewers as an average consistently. Plus, you need people to converse in chat. So Twitch, once you've like ticked all the boxes, so I've ticked the boxes. We had a month where we had over 70 or 70 or more, I should say, average viewers, and I was over the fucking moon. We hit the achievement path to partner. I was super happy. Twitch then will look at your stream and they'll make sure that you're doing the right things. You know, they'll make sure that they want you to represent them as a partner. And part of that is they want people to be able to sort of join in with the community spirit. So there's lots of chat going on. So the more active you guys are in the chat, the better it is. I know people that have like if you want channel currency, you have to chat at least once an hour. Otherwise, the bot stops giving you currency. Now, the bot here doesn't do that. We're a lurk-friendly stream. You know, that's fine. But like I said, we don't do that. We're not going to play games to try and get it that way. It happens when it happens. I'd love it to happen because A, it'll help me out immeasurably, but it also means that we've sort of made it that far. That's why I want partner, is because it means that people liked what I did enough and supported it enough for that to happen. Not, oh, people change the URL and refresh their bloody page. That's no good. Alright, so just putting a shadow around that flame. It's really time to amp up that little bright highlight we've got there. We'll blend this down into the base, which was darker anyway. Come in here again just to touch that up a little bit. There you go. See that? See that right there? That was what was on the needle. I knew there was a little bit of a blockage. Feel it. That's just spat out. Rather it hit the glove than the mini. So again, when you're working with the airbrush, as soon as you start getting any sort of inkling there's something going a little bit wrong, just stop. Spray off to one side. Whether it's your board, your glove, your spray booth, you know, whatever the fuck it is that you've got there. Just get on it. No, plenty of channels where I go, they cheat the system. It's what it is, man. Like, I'm not going to do that, though. It's called integrity. No idea, Jake. We get those bots that we ban that offer you getting services that could help with that. I'm not going to suggest that that's how they've done it, but you know, there's always some sort of cheat that you can do. So just trying to hit this bottom area here without touching any of that bright highlight too much. So we're going to have to just come back in and touch that up a little. We got a little bit out of line with our shadow coat there, but it'll be alright. Same deal here. Just getting in around that lower area. So, and then just on this bit of flame at the front, I want to do it as well. So just aiming for the bottom of that. Let's provide that little contrast. All right, I'm going to flush this through, clean the airbrush, grab that little pipette full of highlight, and go again. Too many sprues, you can talk as much as you like, because I can ignore the fuck out of you. Just don't use your channel points, don't tag me in anything you say, we'll be fine. In before, tag me in something using channel points. And then Meep emotes all over. Right, nearly done the airbrush section. It's taken about an hour with a little bit of chat and everything else as well. So, Spike and XDK, much love, man. Holy shit. That's insanity, man. I couldn't imagine being like paid 40k to stream. That's more than I made a year. It's just crazy. Right, so here's that pipette. A tiny amount of paint, but that's really all we're gonna need. Get all that back in the airbrush. Kenny uses like water bottle lids for stuff like this. I've always found that I lose too much getting it out of the airbrush into the bottle cap. But this, I'm going to get most of it out of the airbrush, if not all of it. So we're normally pretty okay with this method. So we're just going to come back in, retouch that highlight, bring it back up to its absolute full. I didn't because I was busy, unfortunately. Jesus, Des. Like, I started watching the VOD earlier on, and I got about 10 minutes in, and it was just, well, probably even less than that, 5 minutes in. A lot of it was Mikey having audio issues and stuff. Thought, all right, we'll try this tomorrow when I'm at work and just listen to it. That sucks, though. What were they giving him abuse for? Like, he had lots of sound issues, like I said, but that's not something to give somebody abuse over. That's just like, look, your mic's too loud, or your music's not any good, or whatever. How much worse can it get? Right, that's looking much better now. Kind of happy with this all over. Right. Flush this out, quick clean of the brush, and then that can get put aside for a deep clean after the stream, same as always. Then grab the brushes and get on with this. Driving back from Dorch, mate. Oh, mate, Pete lives in Dorch. Dorch is a nice place. Wait, is Danny here? Oh, there he is. Hey, hey. How you doing, fella? So it's quite above. Sometimes people die. I say the stream is lame and what? Okay. That's just a bit weird. Okay, so here's where we're at. We've got our blue. Everything's looking pretty good. Let's do the obvious bit first, which is to get rid of all the tape. Where's my tweezers? No nails anymore. Not bad, man. Been redoing the hobby room, so not... Oh, nice, dude. You getting your airbrush somewhere useful now? No! Oh, that's the first time Tamiya tape has ever fucking let me down. Oh, that's utter AIDS. Alright, we can fix that. I've never once been let down by Tamiya tape before. Oh, it's super rubbish. Easily fixable though. You just spray on some greys, spray on a little bit of green, get a quick highlight in there, and done. You know, sorted. So I don't stream to YouTube. As you guys know, I've been thinking about it because it makes sense to. The tape was on that bit, the same length as everybody else, and I've had it on nights for way longer than that. That tape got put on there at 5 minutes before I took the photo to put on Instagram, about 10 minutes before the stream. So, hour and 15, hour and 20 tops. So what I'm doing now is going to start establishing the absolute darkest shadows and really give us that contrast. Keep it asking, even though any good storage options are wall mount. I was looking at hobby and stuff, but no, wall mount. Storage for what? Jager's already there, well done. Paint, tools, minis, bits of everything, with a small space, everything can go to walls is great. So I really like these from Element Games. Let me grab, if you ! Element and do a search for paint rack, then you'll get those. They're not cheap. Like I spent about 100 quid to get the whole thing, but there's enough room there for, is it 18 per? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 180 minus 36. 144 paints, plus these little sort of cubby holes that you can't quite see, plus the drawers underneath. So, pretty solid. I have used some double-sided tape to anchor this whole assembly to the desk, and that side to that side. So there's two sets of like 4 stacked up. It's good. I really rate it. So I'm taking some Signal Blue base, taking a little bit of black, just some Thramar black. Need a lot less than that though. Let's try that mix again using just some of the mix we've just made. That's perfect. Gonna thin that down as well. And then we're just gonna paint this into those recesses. Contrast paints work, but not for painting marines. Not for painting power armor. Not for painting large flat surfaces. Not for painting tanks. Essentially, not in any of the ways that GW told you should be using them. So here's where we're going to hit our maximum shadows, is by just painting these skinny little lines on. And notice, just that one tiny line around this has made that whole thing stand out so much more, right? So if we can drop this into this best line here, and we're just trying to stay thin, we're putting this on as a very thin coat of paint, but we're also putting it on a very thin line if we can manage it as well. Because it doesn't need to be big and bold, it just needs to be there. it's going to have a massive, massive impact on what we're doing. So very light brush pressure. Keep your paint nice and thin. Keep everything good and controlled. Be absolutely okay. Black Templar seems to work. Depends on what you're doing. They are made of MDF, yeah. I don't know what you're... So the first question, Cats, I can't believe I dropped that. What are your walls made of? Have you got brick? Have you got plasterboard? Have you got some studding that you can anchor something to? Because if you can only use something like Velcro adhesives or like double-sided tape or something like that, you need to be very careful about what you're storing on there. If the walls are your own and you can obviously do some sort of constructive work, then some bracketed versions of that would work really, really well. And the best thing about them is because they're modular, you can add to them over time as well, so you just keep building upwards. If you put some brackets down and a nice shelf, get the bottom ones nice and secure, you can build up from there. Using Dark Earth Flesh as a base coat for my gills, which is great under a Rakarth Flesh dry brush. So, earlier on, when I was at my other halves, we were playing Pandemic. Great game. Never played it before. We had fun. We played, beat the first game on like normal difficulty mode. Then we ramped up the difficulty, put all of the epidemic cards in, and had a blast playing it again. And when I was putting it away, she said, "Oh, next time we'll play this other game." She brought out Mansions of Madness, which is based on the Lovecraftian horror books, and found out there was minis there. And I'm like, "Oh, sweet, there's minis?" She's like, "Yeah, I might have to paint these." I'm like, "Yeah, you could definitely paint. You know, I could help if you want. Or you can paint at mine. You can borrow all my stuff." She's like, "Yeah, I could definitely do some dry brushing." Okay, I mean, you could. And she's like, "I've watched your streams. I know what you think about dry brushing." Mate, she set me up pretty heavily for that one. So, yeah. Don't really dry brush. I don't like the way dry brushing looks on a mini. Boxman! How's it going, brother? I think on anything other than like bare stonework, and even that you can do better. Like none of Magnus's base is dry brushed. Yeah. Toony Spruce. Yeah, man. I'm feeling it. Fucking cracking jokes about dry brushing. What a lass. So again, just keeping this nice and thin, but having that extra shade in there. You can see just how much it's snapping all of our highlights up around here. Really giving that hard line to a lot of this. Big change for, again, very little effort. You saw on Magnus's base when we did the sections of that on Thursday night using the Rival Craft stuff, exclamation point Tufts, that a very small amount of additional effort is all that is required to take something from being good to something that's being great. So, Cap 10X. It's not brand new, actually. I've had this one for probably about 2 months. Exclamation point brushes. This is a Winsor & Newton Series 7, size 1. I paint pretty much everything with one of these. Whether it's even like eyeballs and stuff, you know. Very rarely do I ever use a smaller brush than this. This one's actually, it wasn't one of the best ones I've ever had. They've had some quality control issues lately, it seems. And this is not a good example of their brushes, but it is still money. You are paying a good price for them. You're looking at £10 to £12 a brush. But if you look at Games Workshop's equivalent, which is their Artificer brush, that brush is 17 quid. It's made by the same company that make this, but the Artificer brush is Winsor & Newton's sort of Tesco value version of what they make. Kets, I have, yeah. It's a solid video. Everyone loves Sandra. Yeah. Oh, Jager, that was cold. People spamming commands is good, right? That's that community activity. Everyone can spam that command. Exclamation point Airbrush for information on that one. Exclamation point AOW for some information on the art of war and how great they are. Exclamation Pedley. Good old Pedders on the go. He's doing well. He's just sold his house. He's fucking living a dream right now. Do you have a particular brush cleaning ritual besides master cleaning soap? Well, first, you have to sit under a waterfall for 7 days, contemplating the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. The answer is actually 43. Not 42. It's a common misconception. Once you have done that and you have cleansed your inner soul, you merely take a small pot of Master's brush cleaning soap, run your brush into the soap gently. Don't swirl it around. It's not a fucking loofah. Once you have done that, you basically take the brush and you sort of rotate it through your palm. So you're twisting the brush as you draw it forward. And that's going to help keep the tip and all the bristles moving into that nice point. And you do that every time you finish painting with it. You know, if you've done like 5 brush strokes, fuck it, don't worry. It's not the end of the world. You do it every single time you've done some painting. The other thing to note, excuse me, is that you should condition your brushes every now and again. So probably about once every 3 weeks or so. I will take the brush. I will cover it in brush soap. I'll bring it to a point. Again, like that in my hands. And rather than clean the soap off, just like, you know, wash it out and then draw it back to a point, dry it off on some paper towel. Rather than do that, I'll leave the brush soap on the end of the brush all night. And in the morning, I'll clean it out. Get it back to a point, and I can use it again. Doing that conditions the brush the same way that you'd condition your hair or your beard or fucking, you know, whatever else. You good. Master's brush soap does indeed help protect the bristle on a loo brush. However, because they're usually synthetic, it's very difficult to get a good Kolinsky Sable Bog brush these days. I find that you don't really need to. It takes many, many weasels to make a full Sable toilet brush. Okay, so now we've got some Lothern Blue. We're going to mix that up with some Sickly Skin to get our highlight. A load more Sickly Skin than that. That's looking about right. It's looking fire. Pun intended. The other thing as well, Cap, is always keep these little plastic things that your brush comes in, right? This 100% saves your brush's life, right? And store your brushes lead flat. Don't store them like that, because gravity will start to pull the hairs away from the guide hair at the top, and it will just sort of fan out naturally at that point. You don't want that. Someone came here and primed for me. Now it's webbing too much. Too many sprues. Okay, let's talk about airbrush priming, because clearly that's something you're having an issue with. So, in your airbrush, have you mixed 50-50 mix of Vallejo airbrush thinner and Vallejo airbrush primer? No worries, Cat. Thanks for stopping by, though. Right. Always good to see new names. So again, now we're going to start getting our highlights on these flames. So we're going to keep this pretty small. We want the airbrush work that we've done to be the majority of our highlights, but we do need to add these additional details by hand. So it's going to help us get these little tracers up and into that airbrush highlight. So we're getting that gradient from the airbrush work, and we're just getting this little extra sort of spike of color. Sugar! How you doing? With 3 drops primer, with 2 drop thinner, 1 drop flow improver. Don't worry about flow improver. I find that with the varnishes and primers, because they contain polyurethane, flow improver is not going to help too much, but thinner really does. Let's break that up a little bit. Right, now you say you're getting webbing. Webbing almost always means, and I'm sorry, pal, but this is the truth. Webbing almost always means that you are applying too much paint to one area. So it's a control issue for the webbing. The other thing like you had before, like I say, all I can think of is that it wasn't quite cleaned well enough after stripping. But if you're getting the webbing, if you're getting that spider web that's going on, so for you guys that maybe don't understand this, when you spray paint at a surface and you start to get just regular coverage, and then you get this like circle that appears, and there's no paint here, and all the paint's in this ring, it's starting to push out like a spider web around that ring. The culprit for that is normally the pilot, unfortunately. And it's just a case that you're applying too much paint through the airbrush, it's hitting the surface and not being able to dry before you're pushing it away with the airbrush. So it's a rough one, but like I say, it's usually pilot error, I'm afraid. The other thing with the grey primer, Meep intensifies. The cult of Meep, love it. Love it. With the primer, you need to shake the ever-living fuck out of it. Certainly the black one. The grey one I don't use very much at all. I think I've maybe used it 2 or 3 times. And so that might be a little bit different. But with the black one, for definite, if you don't shake it up really, really well, the medium that's in there, which is slightly gloss, I think to help aid in the flow of it a little bit, is all you get out on the Mini. And that looks weird, and that spreads everywhere regardless of how careful you are. I'm not sure what happened to those emotes, but you've got Meep in a pumpkin, that's great. Cap, thanks for the follow. You should do an idiot's guide for airbrushing people like me on your Patreon. Yeah, man, for definite. Like, I'm up for any video ideas. If there's something specific that you guys want to see, we'll definitely do it. To begin with, the first one I'm going to do is the airbrush work and a little bit of the sort of paneling for how I paint black. Now, that's something a lot of you guys would have seen anyway, but it's also something I get asked quite a lot. Like, oh my god, how did you paint that black? It looks so good, it looks so clean, it looks so crisp. Like, how did you do that? Mine never looks like that. And we've got a Marine Chaplain coming up, as well as some Raven Guard to do pretty soon. So I'm thinking that's going to be a good first video. It's something that I've done a lot of. You've seen it on my Knights, you've seen it on things like Samael and so on that we've painted on the channel. So I've had a lot of practice. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. So I've got all of that out the way. I just need to use that video to learn how to edit it. Good idea. How to plan a speed paint session. Yeah, that'd be cool. Any tips on how to paint red leather? By red leather, do you mean leather that's kind of brownish red? So, like, I've got some Caterpillar boots that are a nice browny red. Do you mean like that? Or do you mean something that's definitely red but happens to be a leather? So at that point you're looking at how do I paint the effect of leather using a different color to, say, brown. Which do you mean, dude? So you see what we're doing? We're just hitting some of the extremes of these flames. So look at the difference between how bright these look and how dark those shadows look in comparison to what we've got up here. How big's the base on Magnus? Effing gigantic. It's a 100mm base that he's meant to be stood on. And you've got this 100mm base and this kind of steps that sort of flow up from around there, go around a corner and expand. So he's gargantuan. But how you doing, man? Also, Steiner Miniatures, how's it going? Every time I see your name, all I can think of is Rick Steiner from the WWE, or WWF, because that's really where he was. And WCW was in that for a very long time. That's all I can think of. So I do expect you to at least elbow drops one thing every day. Got a link to Patreon yet, as I'll be on there. I haven't really set anything up for it yet. I have a Patreon, but there's literally nothing there. I have the Scott Still promo as a command. Holy shit, no way. No way. Awesome, dude. I love the invasion. Scott could never work. He was so shit. Super stiff, had no real natural athleticism when it comes to wrestling, no real grace. He was definitely just a beatdown artist. But his little Who's the Greatest skit he had with Triple H was fucking great. Absolutely great. Let's get some love for Steiner Miniatures, and I'm going to give you a follow, man. I don't think I've got you followed. No, I haven't. There you go. You just gained another follower. Everyone, go follow Steiner Miniatures, if only to see that promo. Also, you got some cool looking stuff on your stream, man. I'm liking those corn boys you're doing. They're alright. Very nice work. Mostly hang out in the Scale 75 range, but after the Vallejo's Cavalry Brown. Scale 75 are really good, but they can be difficult to pick up for someone that's new to painting. They're definitely not particularly user-friendly. You have to know a lot about what you're doing, how to properly apply paint. And that sounds like I'm making something up, but it's definitely one of those things where you have to be very vigilant about your brush strokes to get the most out of the Scale 75 range. That being said, they do some banging metallics. Their golds are, I feel, the best in the business. That Dwarven Gold is something else. So you're still picking up the brightest highlights here on the edges of these flames. We're nearly done on this, which is nice. What time are we at? We're at 10:30, so we've got about an hour left in the stream. We can repair the bit of pillar that we somehow managed to peel the paint off earlier on with that masking tape, which was super annoying. I'm not going to get over that one for a minute. How far am I on Magnus? I'll show you. Give me 2 minutes to finish this, and I'll show you the whole of Magnus. We've got a few bits and pieces left to do. We could get some more airbrush work done actually tonight because I've got those horns to do. Yeah, we could do that. So instead of repairing this, which I'll do off stream because that's going to be super simple, just spray some grey paint down and then like work up some green and just slap it with some weathering powders. We can get the horns done, I think. The ivory section of that at least. But yeah, let me just get this done. Hit all these little sections. Just gonna get right in under that. Super skinny if we can do it. There we go. Brighten that last one up. There's the tiniest cat hair in the fucking world under there as well. Come here, you fucker. There we go. Fucking another one here. There we go. Right, let's just check the back side of that. Make sure there's nothing there that needs attention. Of course there is. All of this area needs a bit of love. There we go. It's weird. I've had 5 years of time learning how to properly work scale 75 and Blade Sit, etc. Couldn't quite tell you why. I'm definitely thinking of the exception in this case rather than the rule. Probably scale stuff just seems to work better with how I paint. That'll be it. So, every artist has their own style. Yours obviously lends itself towards using their products. For the average person, because they're a gel-based medium rather than a sort of more standard acrylic medium, and because their paint is very thick, you have to know how to work with it. You've got to get that that style down. Just going to do a quick highlight on the edge of this, then we're going to work in a little bit more on that orb. Just want to get our rough sort of value down for this section. See what else needs to happen in this area before I'm happy with this set. To be honest, I think all we really need to do is pick out a few of these little cracks. With this light, and then come back in with a quick highlight on some of this to be able to call this section done. Obviously, like I said, you just got that little bit on the center of the orb. So you want to get that like sort of S path that I was talking about earlier on. Just tied it in, but this is still part of the orb. And if it just sat there on a blank canvas with nothing going on, we've wasted an opportunity, right? I feel the same way if I scale them. Nice one. Well, good for you, Kets. I find that their colours have got the most beautiful matte effect, and they airbrush like a wet dream. They're so good through the airbrush. But as soon as you start putting them on by hand, there's so much more you have to consider. It's not particularly tricky once you understand it, but until you've got that base knowledge down, I feel they're a paint that is you have to know about it a little bit, or just have that like intrinsic understanding once you start playing with it of, I get it, this is how it works. Alright, got a slightly brighter version of all of that. We're just going to hit a couple of spots on the edge that are particularly raised. Then we'll grab a couple of those little highlights, anything near a flame as well. That would be a really good point to get a highlight on. So right in here, and then just in under there as well. And then let's just come in and just grab a couple of little spots on this. So all we're doing, this isn't really freehand, we're just picking up little areas of the cork and finding a reason to give it a highlight. But if this was completely flat, if it was plastic, you could just freehand in a couple of little cracks or something. You'd be absolutely fine with that. Very straightforward thing to do. And that extra highlight really just helps to pick out some of these little details. Cool beans. Right, now we're going to go back to that bright highlight. Just slightly dried up on me, so the downside of only mixing a tiny amount and using loads of water to thin your glazes, they do tend to dry out quite quickly. So what we need to do now is paint in a line that doesn't quite stretch from that point to here. Want that little gap in the center. Yeah. So it needs to not quite touch. And then with a decisive brush motion, so not little scratchy motions, one smooth brush stroke, take that round. If you do very short like this, you'll end up with stuff that doesn't quite match and won't be in a straight line. You have to do a decisive motion with your hand. What the hell is going on? For some reason, it didn't loop. Brush for Hire, how you doing, bro? I'm doing well. How about you? Falcoholic, thank you for the follow and welcome. And then same on this one. It has to be that decisive line. Just a little bit of dry paint into the brush there, so get rid of that. Go again. Come on, you fucker. See what I mean there about that sort of scratch and scritch. Got a larger spot there than I wanted, but it's okay. There's just that little line of power on there. Just something else we can do. Super, super simple. Just to get that on. Did you follow up with examples on a red leather? I didn't, sorry. I asked what you wanted, and then it sounded like you wanted leather that was red rather than sort of brownish red leather. So essentially, when any leather gets worn, and that's how you showcase that something is leather, is with the wear and tear that it has. Usually, at least. You end up with patches that are brighter in color. So you could start with any color you wanted, red, green, blue, whatever, and then start mixing up brighter versions. So with red, one of the best ways to do it, I imagine, would be to use like a flesh tone, like Acadian flesh tone, a regular Caucasian skin style flesh, and just start to bring that in. And then it comes down to how you paint it manually. So you're looking at little tiny brush strokes. There you do want that texture to come in. You want those tiny little lines that denote a little bit of worn, scratched leather and so on and so forth. So you could go a darker red as your base coat, get a nice brighter red, moving up to it, leaving a dark red in the shadows, start adding in those flesh tones, and then with that, instead of doing nice smooth line highlights, start doing little bits of text. You can stipple it on, you can do those tiny like little brush strokes. I've done it on a few minis, but I've got nothing to hand at the moment. If you look through my Instagram, you'll find a few examples of it. I'm trying to think of the last thing we did that had a really prominent look of that on, and it would be the Nurgle dude that we did for Polly Wants a Cracker. So there'll be a Nurgle champion. He's a Sigmar mini. I think that's got a lot of it on. Right, let's have a quick look now at Magnus. So somebody asked earlier on how he's coming along. Well, here it is. This is Magnus the Blue, as you can see. Got that top down, his outstretched arm above the brazier, looking sick AF. If we hold that in place gently, somehow, and support the wings a little bit, stop them from falling out. This is Maggie. Look at that bright blue. God, I love this mini. The sword's obviously attached by blue tack, so ignore that. Here's the base. We did that on Thursday night. That still needs a base rim done, but otherwise that is finished. Got a little bit of tape to have to sort out. We've got the wings. We've got the horns on the wings that we need to do, which is going to start off now, actually. Same as the horns on the breastplate and his helmet. But there he is. Let's show you the butt shot, if we can. So just support the whole fucking thing now. And you see, look, the back of the sword still not been done. That's a project for off stream. I'll turn that into an Instagram tutorial, or maybe even a Patreon PDF. There's those beautiful fucking silken sashes. I love the way they look at the back. It's basically the inverse of the wings, that mother of pearl, the beautiful hair. It's just, I think this model is stunning from every angle. And I know I'm the artist, but normally it's the artist that hates it rather than everyone else. But just look. I love it. I've wanted to paint this mini since he got fucking released. I've had to wait, what, 4 years? I guess. What a fucking unit this guy is. Can't blame him because of my colour blindness, so I'm listening for colours at stage of layering makes it a bitch to paint the standard. When you say you're colourblind, do you see in grayscale, or do you see in like you just can't see red, green, and stuff like that? Tell me a little bit more, mate. Because obviously there's very different stages of I've forgotten what the real name of it is, but Mayo something. Beating with that gold is excellent. Thank you very much, man. That was super simple, actually. Right, let's get some browns on the go. I've got a brown out. I do have a brown out. Do we want to start with Rhinox hide? Yeah, that and that, I think. So we'll mix Rhinox hide and black together. We'll work up Rhinox hide. We'll go through bone, then on Menoth white and highlight. And probably won't work up any brighter than Mouth White highlights, so we've got a bit more room to go with our basic brushed highlights. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take his wings off him. So none of these are glued on yet because we've got plenty to do. In fact, we've got these bits of armor panel that just sort of belong on the inside line here. They loop around over here and just sort of clip on there using this section that goes over the back, and then these go around over the front. In fact, I'll show you this one. I suppose it makes no real never mind. I'm not gluing these on yet because we've got the airbrush work to do on these horns. Just pick off that bit of blue tack. There we go. So this sits just in there like that. And then when you add that over onto Magnus, obviously that red armor helps to flow all the way through. All of these little sigils will be red. And the effect that will have is it'll grab your eye from here and direct you through the model all the way down the chest piece into the legs, which then the sash picks up your eye and really draws that back down. It also gives a nice triangle, like Y effect with the two wings and the sashes coming down. So we've put a lot of thought into the makeup of this model and where the colors are going to be, as well as the colors themselves. And on the centerpiece model like that, that's the kind of thing you should be doing to ensure that you've got something that is not only just visually stunning and really looks the part, but also tells a story to your viewer, your audience. Practically most colors are the same to me, and I have to create massive notes and schemes that I follow from other painters. Okay, cool. So in that case, then you could start. So I may not be the best person to ask this. I do everything off of like mixes. I very rarely just use like one paint and then another paint and another paint, which is kind of the Games Workshop way. So what I would suggest is you start with a mix of red and black. I really like Cador Red from P3. I think it's really, really good. It's super vibrant. If you can't get hold of that, Evil Sun Scarlet from GW, same deal. It's not quite as good, I don't think, but it's close to, right? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint this with a mixture of Rhinox hide and black. So I'm going to take about 2/3 Rhinox hide to 1/3 black, and that's about, I'd maybe go 3-to-1 instead of 2-to-1 for the red mix I was just talking about. But mix that up, paint your base color down with that, then just take Cador Red or mix more of it in until you get higher, if you can follow the blend pattern. And then essentially what you're looking to do is use the Cador Red or whatever bright red you've got to do your basic highlights on the leather, right? So anywhere you like would strike, so all of the creases, anywhere that has a nice sharp edge to it, and if you're doing things like gradients and so on. Sons of Rolo! Dude, how you doing? He says movie time over here. Sorry, movie time over, but here now. That's looking wicked, bud. Mate, I'm so glad you like it. Thanks a lot, man. Thank you for that sub as well. So we're talking about red leather. So yeah, you get your black and red combo down. You use your red for your highlights. If you're making gradients out of things, then obviously just sort of glaze that red up. Then once you've done that, take a flesh tone. You want something that's kind of bright and a little bit washed out. Although thinking about it, no, for red leather maybe not. So maybe you do your first coat of any sort of weathering, so all your scratches, all of your little bits of wear and tear, whether it's just where the outside of the leather's just sort of flecked off a little bit, or whether it's been worn and creased. Maybe use a Bugman's Glow, something like that for. So a darker, more ruddy flesh tone. Then come in and highlight that with something like Cadian flesh tone, so a brighter flesh. And that should give you the effect of worn red leather. You'll have something at least that's not a billion miles away from the actual thing. And should be something you can easily sort of get through that color progression on. Let me know how you get on with that, man. So we're doing this by hand because I don't want to use the airbrush to base coat this. However, what we'll be doing afterwards is taking the airbrush and base coating the other horns with this color. Same sort of mix. 2/3 black to 2/3 brown to 1/3 black. And we'll come back and we'll hit these areas just to ensure we get a nice smooth finish on it. One thing that absolutely kills me when you're doing a mini is brush marks on stuff. It's no good. And something I found is I could leave this essentially like that, and you can see some visible brush marks in there, especially once this dries. Just come back and hit it with the airbrush and you'd smooth those out really quickly. It's a really interesting way of getting a quick finish on something just by cheating it a little with the airbrush. Hey, no worries, dude. Look, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, let us know and we'll come up with something else. Right. Pop that away again. So again, keep your brushes in their little condoms. There's probably this is probably a real thing that isn't just like tube or pipe, but someone's called this thing the brush protector. There's a real word for it, probably like Flugelbinder. Get that quote. And if somebody knows what that is, let me know. But right now it's a brush, Johnny. Excuse me. Right, here we go. Airbrush time again. Let's grab that and that. We've got, call it half an hour before we go into the whip gallery, I guess. Maybe slightly less. We've got loads of time to get this part done. So I'm going to go flow improver, brown paint. It's a sheath. There you go. See, Des knows all. Also another word for a Johnny. Now let's be fair. Welcome to politically correctness. It's over there somewhere. Here we go, so solid dark brown now, in addition to that black. We want this to be really dark because, especially the nipple horns, which are these two. So these two with the decoration, you see the detail just on there. These are the nipple horns. We're going to end up with this being gold with some blue gems being picked out. This is a little gold tip to them. If we had the bone right down here and did the sort of new way a lot of people are doing horns, I've done it like this before as well. I think it looks really, really good quite a lot of the time. If we did the light bit here and the dark bit here, then that bright bone right next to the chest, and you'd have Magnus the Blood Raven. Now, admittedly, while Magnus may be the Primarch of the Blood Ravens, because there's a solid chance that they were Thousand Sons, it would look really shit. It just would. Right? Even with that gold banding, it's just going to be not right. So as a result, we're doing it this way around. For the helmet horns, having them go dark up to light past this bit of gold actually is going to work really, really well, because we've got that brighter section up where the wings are, the brightest point being the high point on the model, almost always works as well because your eye is drawn to it. And so therefore, for that, I'm a really, really big fan. And that's two reasons why we're doing it this way. Nodin, or Nodin. Nodin? Yeah, it'd be Nodin, only one D. Thank you and follow, welcome. Let's get these sprayed up with the brown, then we'll just grab those wings, do the two horns on there as well. Also, on a completely related note to why we're painting the horns this way, because all of his talons would follow exactly the same process, and it's easier to brush paint dark to light than it is light to dark, we're doing it this way around, because fuck doing light to dark on all of his fingernails and toenails. Bolt down everything. The Blood Ravens are here, absolutely. Does that Magnus more with this armor or without it? I prefer the armor. So Rocky, when he asked me to do Magnus, he just said, look, you can paint it however you want. I want your artwork done your way. That's what I'm paying for. I don't play the games. Just, I think you do a great job of Magnus. I said, all right, cool. We're going to do the armor. We're going to do nipple horns. We're going to paint it in blue. Are you all right with that? Like, yep, definitely. So Rocky is absolutely the ideal kind of client. If anyone's ever thinking of getting something done by a commission painter, and bear in mind it could be my full-time job in a month. So, you know, hit me up. Giving them creative freedom is the best way to get the most out of your minis, because they're going to become invested in it. And this is a little devious, I suppose, on like the client's side of things, but if the artist's super invested in the work that they're doing, they're going to put more time into it than they've quoted you for, and they're not going to charge you for it. Because, yeah, you know, I know we didn't talk about this, but I decided I was just going to do this part as like an OSL thing, or, you know, I just decided I was going to freehand this on, so I thought it would look really, really cool if we had this on there. And like, you're sat there going, yeah, boy. They're sat there going, now I'm behind and I've got to rush somebody else's bullshit Ultramarines or whatever. To be honest, I quite like Ultramarines, so I'm okay painting them. There are a lot of Ultra commissions. You'll see them in the thing. Right, just making sure we've got a solid coat of this brown all over that black. Because airbrush paint is so thin, there's almost no harm ever in coming in for a second pass, especially just on base coats. Certainly for highlights, one of the best ways to get your highlights down looking smooth is to go back in with a second pass of the same highlight colour, because you're going to get a little bit more opacity than you've got on that first pass. You can start establishing a blend just by using that one colour. So, I'm more of a grey light person. Fair. I like grey lights. I've got a grey light army that is fully assembled. I moved the box, you can just about see some of them in the back corner there. It's fully cleaned up. I just need to magnetize everything that needs to be magnetized, which is all of it. So many magnets. Which you can get from Rival Crafts, by the way. And once that's done, I need to do probably a weekend stream of painting grey knights. Not grey. But I won't be able to do the whole army in a weekend. My god. That's just not possible the way I want to paint them. So what we're doing here, like I said, is wiping out those brush strokes. Notice, no overspray on any of this. We've left these off just in case, alright? Just to be sure we can't hit any of the red or any of the gold with the overspray. Yeah? May as well play it safe and be smart about things, but it's all about control. Wiping out all those brush marks that may have been there, get them gone. No mold line, no brush marks. And if you look here, you can just about see there's a little bit of variation on the surface. Young Gandalf, thanks for the follow. Paint silver paint, call them a day. Hell no. Des, it's kind of NMM. You've seen the librarian. We're not doing NMM gold though, because I know I'm never going to be able to get that done. But it's just not ever going to happen. Because that's a month's worth of painting just to do the gold on the entire army. And if this is my job, I'm not going to have a month off. You know? So the gold will be gold, but the main armor is a black-blue, but definitely heading towards blue. Non-metallic metal style. with those airbrushed highlights, getting all them transitions in. So there we are. Now we've got something that has, once I've got this little bit done, almost no chance of you seeing a brush stroke. No overspray, no speckling. I've got a suspicion, based on that little triangle shape there, that the little protector on this wing just pops up onto that claw as well. Right, now let's start working through our transitions. So we're going to start working with some Menoth White base. This is a really, really nice bone colour from P3. Big fan of this. Starting Range the Whip, nice one. Start my Death Guard army a while back because of your Death Guard Dread model. Oh, the Leviathan? Mate, I love that. That was one of my favourite things. Maladeus, in probably 3-ish weeks, I will be made redundant. It's fine. You know, it's one of those things. It's happened. It's a bit out of nowhere. My entire department is being made redundant. The company has chosen to outsource all of their software development, essentially, which we've told them is a dumb fucking idea, but they're not listening to us, so that's on them. We're obviously, some of us are still hoping we could retain our job, which I am one of those people, and there's a business case being put together for me to retain my job as a advising quality assurance engineer, because I have a fuckload of industry knowledge. There's almost nothing I don't know about the energy industry. And its regulations and everything else. And so based on that, there's a chance I could keep my job. And if so, great. But it's unlikely. So the other option is, yeah, I work for a green energy company. So we do, everything we do is 100% green. We're the biggest green energy company in the world that's 100% green. We were one of the first as well. I'm particularly proud of this because I don't really give a shit, but we are the leading vegan energy company as well. I like bacon way too much to be a vegan, and things like brisket and, well, most meat-based products. But yeah, that's what we do. But my job was in the contact center. I was there for 3 years or so, and I went from like phone monkey to like supervisor and team leader, and then I moved out of the contact center into the quality assurance role, which I currently have in our tech team. So it's my job to test the app and website and everything else that we produced to ensure it worked properly, to ensure it met regulation, to ensure our customers could use it, they'd understand it. I write copy for it, so we know that people are going to sort of have it in the same language, the same tone of voice that our own communications would reach them, and so on. So yeah, there's a lot there. So vegan energy refers to the fact that a lot of energy companies use animal byproducts to help produce energy. So it's not solar panels and so on, though I appreciate you joking. And again, I don't really give a shit about stuff like this, but it was a hot topic. But they'll burn things that have been sort of produced from cows, whether it be like cow shit and methane and so on. And the guy that runs the business, whilst he might be a fucking lunatic because he's binning off his software development team, and that's the one thing you heavily invest in, really, he is a die-hard, stalwart vegan. That's his thing. And I respect it because he's approached it from a logical standpoint. You know, it's not, oh, I don't think we should eat meat because, you know, feelings. I don't think we should eat meat because it takes gargantuan amounts of energy and everything else just to get water to cows, and then to transport the cow, and then to turn the cow into lumps of cow, and all these other things. So I respect his opinions, and to a point I share them. I only buy meat from my local butcher, aside from chicken, because chicken's battery farmed the fuck out of it everywhere, and whilst that's not great and it's not good for the chicken and it's not good for people really, I buy cheap chicken, but I go to the butcher for leg of lamb or beef or whatever, right? Vegan leather, yeah, just I don't like faux anything. So people that eat bacon, right? So anyone in the chat's a vegetarian, I'm probably going to offend you, and I'm really kind of sorry, but equally I'm not. I'm gluten intolerant, which means that I can't eat a lot of gluten because it affects my insides. I can, however, eat things like sourdough because it's got a different bacterial complex and everything else, and so my body can digest it. But instead of buying stuff that's gluten-free versions of stuff that would normally contain gluten, like pasta, I just stopped eating pasta and started eating rice. Instead of buying gluten-free cake, I stopped eating cake. Apart from the occasional time where I just like, you know what, I'm just going to have a donut, or I'm just going to have a slice of cake. And I'll deal with the fact my insides are going to hurt for a bit. People that are vegetarian and then eat bacon, which is like soya processed shit that allegedly has a bacon flavour. I don't understand that. It's not going to be good for you because the amount of processes that food's gone through. If you've chosen to not eat bacon, don't eat bacon. There's cactus leather? Really? I'm going to stop eating meat and eat some meat flavored substitute. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And I know people that are vegetarian and their other half isn't. So what they'll do is they will make they'll fry up some bacon for their other half for breakfast, right? And like, cool, there's his breakfast. And then they'll cook their eggs in that same pan that the bacon's been in so they can get some bacon flavour. But I haven't eaten bacon, I just didn't, I didn't wash up the pan. Hang the fuck on. You just ate bacon. If it tasted like bacon, you ate bacon. Miss half damage. How you doing? Girlfriend's gluten intolerant. I've learned so much about so many things that are gluten for no good reason. Glad to be coming switching it out to other thickness. Yeah, man. The one that caught me out was soy sauce. I completely didn't even think about that one. I do like making my own little sauces if I have like a stir fry. So soy sauce, Shaoxing rice wine, some sweet chili sauce, something along those sorts of lines. Chocolate lemon in a jug, mix them together, equal quantities. You're singing on that one. That's good. Shaoxing. But yeah, soy sauce, that's a gluten. A lot of beer isn't doesn't contain gluten, but isn't marketed as gluten-free because beer companies think that men will stop buying their beer, which is fucking ridiculous. Fortunately, things like scotch and rum contain too much alcohol for the gluten enzyme to live, so that's a good one. Yeah, fake stuff I don't get. And I understand maybe someone like myself, for instance, right? I shouldn't eat gluten, but occasionally I'm going to. Occasionally I'm going to think, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to have a Krispy Kreme donut today and I'm going to regret it for the rest of the week, but I just want one. So I get that there are people out there that don't choose to have these restrictions. Aerial Ventry! Fuck it, do it. Love it. But things like the fake meat that they have now. What's those hamburgers called? I forgot what they're called. There's these hamburgers that are meant to taste exactly like a burger, right? Loner in the crowd, peace out, man. Don't bang your head too hard. Beyond Meat, that could be it. The Impossible Burger, yes, that's the one. Right, my housemate bought some because he wanted to try it. He wanted to see if it tasted like a burger. And when I asked him about it, like, you know, did it? He's like, well, if I'd never eaten a burger, or I hadn't eaten one in 10 years, then yeah, I guess. But it doesn't taste like a burger. It doesn't feel like a burger. The texture isn't the same. And so on and so on and so on. Yeah, miss half damage? Absolutely. Get a vegetable burger. Nothing wrong with making a patty out of like beans and corn and onions. I used to do that for a restaurant I worked at. We did a vegetarian burger, but it wasn't something that was trying to be a burger. It was just a patty made of vegetables. Oh hello, this is just clogged. And that's going to be my point. All of these things that are fake meat have gone through so many processes that it can't be good for you anymore. You know, maybe it might still be better for you than eating lumps of cow and so on, but the less processes your food goes through before you cook it, the better it's going to be. Probably going to taste better too. And before I pick up the wing, let's get that off my hand. Candy is all fake flavors made from chemicals, taste like fruits. Yes, which is one of the reasons why I don't eat sweets. Maladeus, I think you're absolutely right with that, man. Informed decisions being the best thing. Death Waffle! Thank you for the follow, dude. Yeah, really good good outlook, that, mate. I like it. So we're still going through the bone highlights. We're now much brighter than we just were. Just going to start getting that transition really working for us. Lirivial, one of my best mates, vegetarian, never eaten a piece of meat, and I'm always confused when he's eating fake meat products. Yeah, what's the point, right? If he's never had it, he's not missing out. Like, what's the deal? So you're going to bring this almost all the way down to that transition. So we're going to go dark brown, mid brown, and then this bone very quickly. So we'll be passing through those quite swift so that we can get into our actual bone colours and then build those up really bright over a longer section of the horn. Sometimes your transitions need to be long and slow and everything else. Sometimes you want to rinse through them quite quickly. If we'd let that brown come in for too much, the overall effect of the horns would be that they would be brown. We want them to definitely be bone, but we want that muted start point. So when it goes into the armor, it has that break from the red and the gold to the brown, and then flows up through that into that bright white bone. Gravy Stain, that's a banging name considering the conversation we're just on. Thank you very much. Meat population control for animals will skyrocket. Deer in Scotland have no natural predators because you've got rid of wolves up there destroying the land. To be fair, the natural predator for deer these days is a rich farmer that's usually shit-faced already at 9 in the morning. But yeah, you've got a bit of a point. It's just I think what would end up happening is we'd just end up with less cows rather than cows suddenly running wild. Everyone would have a sheep to mow their lawn rather than to have for Sunday lunch. Beef is weird and more pulled than ground, but it's not bad. When it's a whopper, it's thin and charred enough. I legit couldn't tell the difference between cheese and ketchup. Fair. Beyond booze, it's just bad. Okay. Craig, I get that. I suppose they want to sit down and have a burger with the lads or whatever, so it's kind of like fitting in. But I don't think in today's day and age, if you just said, no, I'm sorry, I'm a vegetarian, I'll just have, like, or a pescatarian, you know, whatever. I don't think anyone's going to judge you for that. I think as a society, we're kind of past it. Like, I don't give a shit. If someone's a vegan, great, go for it. There's more bacon for me. Is the way I look at that. But equally, if you're a vegan, please don't tell me about it every 2 minutes. And anyone that sits down at a table or starts a conversation with a group of people they know aren't vegans with the phrases like meat is murder and like, oh, I'd prefer to eat something that wasn't murdered for my benefit today. Get your preachy self off my table. So you see what we're doing, just blending this down, getting it right up towards that transition point for a very fast transition into the bone, like I said. Still got to have that transition. We can't just sort of airbrush the bone down there and hope that no one spots it going from one colour into another one straight away. It has to have that little bit of brown in there that we've blended up. Otherwise it'd be very jarring, and that's no good. Everything else on this model has got its subtleties, it's got those blends, everything's fucking perfect. We're not going to do these horns and rush them at the last minute and sacrifice everything we've done on Maggie so far. That would just be an utter waste of time, energy, and be pointless. Equally, I want to make sure we get a good strong pass of this, so we'll come back in a second and even do a fourth pass. This is the third one really on all these high points. So we start building up that really strong bone on the next pass. Enough buzz for vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian is great for there to be more places I can eat with them. Yeah, absolutely. I love the fact that the restaurants are being more inclusive. I mean, I went for Thai food last night and had gluten-free things marked on the menu. I was super impressed. Had a banging Thai red curry. They didn't have rendang. It's such an amazing, amazing dish. It's not technically Thai though. It's Balinese. Fucking love rendang. Alright, just got a little spider web there. My bad, pushed a little too fast. I've never eaten at a Taco Bell. I know they exist in the UK, but I don't think I've ever even seen a Taco Bell. I do live a little bit off the beaten track though, let's be honest. And there you can see what we're doing with this. We're leaving right in down here that brown, that mid-tone that we established earlier. And again, notice no overspray on any of this because we're being careful. We're making sure they don't have potatoes anymore. At all? I mean, Mexico's not exactly known for its spuds. I'm assuming Taco Bell is still trying to be Mexican. Ah, Maladeus. No, that's rank. I watch a guy on YouTube who's got a Twitch channel, actually, a guy called Greg from How to Drink, and his Twitch channel is Greg from H2D. He plays D&D and stuff. I've never actually seen his Twitch, but I watch his YouTube stuff. And his channel, How to Drink, he shows you how to make cocktails from various things. Usually there's a film or TV show base, or it's something historical, which is really good. But his recent show, which I think was last week, no, it would have been the week before, I think, was the Taco Bell. I believe it was Taco Bell. Taco Bell Mountain Dew Margarita, so a Dew-garita. And if that's the kind of thing they're serving at Taco Bell, is margaritas made from Mountain motherfucking Dew, I never ever need to go to one. I love a good margarita. And it has nowhere in that list of fucking ingredients is Mountain Dew. Oh, it's Red Lobster. Okay. There's a man that knows. Have you ever had a Dew-garita? You know your Mountain Dew. Nice. Right, like I said, I'm just going to get a quick flick back over here. Make sure we've really got a nice solid coat of this just off bone. And then we can come in with some pretty much raw dog Menoth White base. Now we are going to be late going into the whip, but I want to get these horns done, so that means that I can just work on them during the day quite easily. So let's just go through it. We'll have a late whip, and then we'll go right afterwards. So strap yourselves in, guys. Gonna be probably another 20-ish minutes, if that. Depends on how sidetracked we get. Getting horny on a Sunday night. No, it's Sunday morning, mate. How you doing, type number 4? Tequila's devil's Mexican blood and not to be trusted. Tequila is amazing, I'll have you know. People who don't love tequila have impulse control issues. That's all. Because when you say, do you want another one? They go, yes! It's their fault they didn't get on with tequila, not tequila's fault. Tequila did nothing wrong. Unlike Magnus, did everything wrong. One thing specifically really wrong. Mountain Dew and whiskey. I can't even really drink Mountain Dew. And I don't really mix my whiskey with anything either. Right, so here we go. This is just pretty much straight Menoth White. We're bringing this down about halfway. So you still see we've got that transition all the way through there. And that's coming right up to that bright bone. This is where the mid-tone of the horn is going to be, essentially. And where we're going to get a lot of the value out of this. Because this is the section we're going to start building up to that off-white with the Menoth White highlight. What I'm going to do here is we'll do the entirety of the little top section. Then when we get to the Menoth White highlight stage, we'll leave a little transition up on there as well. Limited to whiskey once in a while due to alcohol-induced seizures. Shit, same with my other half, mate. She has, hemi-something migraines. And alcohol can bring that on. So, she will have the occasional drink, and she really likes Talisker. So I bought her some Talisker back from holiday as a gift, which she is saving to open for a special occasion. There you go. Look at how smooth that blend is now, though. Yeah, especially on this horn here. That nice, long, sloping, graceful horn. This is what we're after. This is a result of doing all those passes with a previous bone color to really lay that down and start building its own opacity up to get a transition through itself. Don't forget, with the airbrush, you have that freedom. You're basically doing a glaze every single time you use the airbrush. And that's without thinning something down to the consistency of a glaze as well. So you've got a bit more control over it. And it's a little easier. Drying times are obviously a little bit better. This is where flow improver helps as well. So there's those four. Pop them down. Go back to our wings. From Scotland, I wholeheartedly agree with anything import. Pineapple juice. Pineapple juice? Bought 6 dogs the weekend. Still so confused which Imperial Knight to buy. Inflict the Chaos. Chaos Kids don't have the right guns. Buy Canis Rex. So Canis Rex has all of the kit that you get on a Night Crusader. So all of the different guns, the missile pods, the hand, all that shit. And it's got the spare upgrade sprue. So you 2 need sprues in those. Which you can get for a little bit off in eBay. You can sell that for a little bit on eBay if you don't want it. But you've got the pilot, you've got the cockpit if you want it. It's good for some conversion parts. You get the kind of laser cutter thing that he's got. You know. As far as mixing whiskey being blasphemy from Liraviel up there, I did just catch that. That's the only way to drink things like Grant's, which isn't actually whiskey and is in fact just piss. But unfortunately, I have a friend that adamantly thinks that whiskey lovers must love Grant's because the bottle looks expensive, and therefore I have about 1.33 liters of it still left to get through. My housemate uses it to make whiskey onions every now and again. I've tried mixing it with ginger beer, and you can still taste the Grant's even through like old Jamaican ginger beer, and you can't taste anything through that. So it's the nastiest, horriblest shit. I'm thinking I could maybe put enough Angostura bitters into it to turn it into something that doesn't taste like Grant's. But then I may as well just drink bitters. So Steiner, cheers, dude. Gotta keep them smooth, man. Everything else on Maggie, super, super smooth. These have got to be as well. Maladaeus. I love Scotch. Prefer Speyside to Islay, but do love a good Scotch. However, I'm not always so hung up about it being smooth. I like bourbon. And a lot of bourbon has a little bit more of a bite to it. I kind of enjoy that. Liraviel, absolutely. Quality over quantity. But like I said, this is from a friend that is of the opinion that everyone must like Grant's, clearly. He's like, oh, you like whiskey? This looks really, really nice. The bottle sort of attracted me in. Great. Cheers, pal. Jameson. I never really got into Jameson. It was okay. It wasn't for me. I tried Bushmills 10 as well, thinking, well, the Irish whiskies, we'll try another one that's meant to be decent, you know. And that didn't do it for me either. So I feel that we've given Irish whiskey a good shot, and it's not my bag. cat hairs everywhere. Irish whiskey isn't for everyone. No, it's not, but that's the best thing, right? So, between whiskey, Irish whiskey, whiskey with knee, you know, there's all of these things out there that we can all partake in. And you get that variety. Like, I've got 3 bottles of bourbon. I've got Pike Creek. I've got some Bullet. 4 bottles of bourbon, sorry. I've got some Bullet, some Old Forester, and I've got some Eagle Rare 10. But then whiskies, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 4 whiskeys, that's rum. So I've got Balvenie, Haig, Macallan, and Carlisle, which is an 18-year-old, very smoky single malt. And I've got 2 bottles of rum. I've got some Plantation and some Zacapa 23. I like having that range. Every now and again, you're going to want one thing, not the other. So, Danny, take it easy, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. Looking forward to seeing your new setup. Bullet's good. Bullet 10 is banging. I haven't tried the rye yet, Bullet Rye. That's meant to be really, really good. But just regular Bullet. Last month, I bought that on Amazon for 22 quid for the bottle. And that's super cheap. Super, super cheap. I like Woodford on occasion, but I haven't bought any in years. It's just one that you look at every now and again, you're like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind that. But then something else is there instead. So, right, now we're mixing up some of that Menoth White Highlight. This is where we're going to start getting the nice bright bone on these wings. So just feathering that in. Super bright. We might do one more highlight of this, but as pure Menoth White Highlight in a second. Just to really, really pop out the tops of these. But again, this is all about staying smooth. Now, if you were doing, say, just rank and file, let's say you've got a load of Chaos Marines to paint or something, right? You're not going to take this much care. You might do. But chances are good you're not going to take this much care over all of their horns every single time, right? And so you could just go straight from your brown into the bone. You'd have a little bit of speckling, but you know, with a wash, you probably would hide the majority of that. And you could go into this, the Menoth White, and that would do. You'd get a decent sort of succession. But because this is such a massive centerpiece model, because the amount of time and effort we've put into Magnus, with 13 streams in and a little bit of work off camera, you know, let's not fuck it up. Let's really do it the justice. And look at the difference in value between these here and these. Yeah, that extra highlight, and then the one more after that is going to really, really push this up. Japanese whiskey is good. Nicker from the Barrel I've not tried yet, but I did like their coffee malt and coffee grain. They were both really good. Nicker from the Barrel always pisses me off because it's about the same price as normal whiskey, but it's a small bottle. I'm sure it's great, but not tried it. I've tried the Yamazaki, the Hakushu, and there's another one that Suntory have done. Hakushu, Yamazaki. What's the other one? Fuck, I've forgotten. But I've tried those. They were good. Yeah, Suntory's the distillers. Maybe we should do a different Yamazaki. Yes, Yamazaki 12 and the Hakushu I've had. They were, the Yamazaki 12 was something else. I'm not surprised that got voted like #1 whiskey in the world. Like, dear God. That was crazy good. Right, you're gonna flush this all through, grab some of that Menoth White, final highlight with that, and then we're done on these horns. The next steps for these will be I'm gonna give a quick blast with some matte varnish. Just to seal in all of these blends that we've got here, because we're using the lighter colours. They're usually a little bit more fragile, so just a nice bit of sealant on there before we do the metals as well. So we can keep those metals nice and satiny, a little bit glossy maybe from the metallic fleck, stop them from being matted down. Wait, Woodford do a rye miss half damage? I haven't even seen that. Amaretto on the rock. I can't do Amaretto. Only because when I was maybe early 20s, all of my mates were drinking what they would call Diet Dr. Peppers, which was Southern Comfort, Amaretto, and Coke. Or Cherry Bakewells, which was Amaretto and maybe Grenadine. I think Amaretto and Grenadine. And it, oh god, it was just fucking everywhere, the taste of that. Rocky, we are still streaming, man. Do you want to see Maggie? Stick around for 2 to 3 more minutes, maybe 5 at the most, and I'll show you Maggie in all his fucking glory. Need to put the wings back on him in a sec. Shot of Amaretto in a shot glass, in a glass of 50-50 beer and Coke. Oh, no. What? Why do you mix beer and Coke? We used to drink Boilermakers when I was at uni, because I think somebody got it from American TV or a movie or something. And they were like, oh, this is what we should do. And then it caught on. And I was always fucking petrified of... Asam sausage is Turkish. That's how long 5 minutes is more than 2 minutes, Rocky. I was petrified of drinking the thing and the shot glass smashing on my teeth. Like, that scared the fuck out of me every time. My teeth are bad enough as is. I don't need more problems with them, you know. And actually, Rocky, I think you'll find that 5 minutes is 250% more than 2 minutes. Right, super bright final hit. Ugh. That's a no. Why would you do that? No, red wine and Pepsi. That's just a no. It's called Diesel Beer and Coke. Had in Italy, it was odd. Call that a redneck whiskey in Alabama. What? No, a cheeky Vimto was WKD Blue and Port. That was a cheeky Vimto. Used to sell a lot of those in the bar I worked in. Toonie Sprues, you think you're winning? Awesome. Did you change up your consistency a little bit? Right, grab them with a hairdryer in a sec. Rock, just got to finish up this highlight on these horns. And then by that point the horns on the wings should be dry. And I can show you Magnus in all his glory. I'll tell you now, man, he's looking fine as. So we haven't even talked about the giveaways yet today, which is strange. Exclamation point mystery and exclamation point win. You could win a £50 hobby voucher to the hobby stockist of your choice just by watching. No purchase necessary. You don't need to be a subscriber. That will help your chances of winning. So it'll give you extra channel currency. Dear oh dear. Or, exclamation point mystery, you could win a mini painted by me in a colour scheme of your choice. Now you will need to be a subscriber for that. So on the giveaway stream, which is next Thursday. Is it Thursday? I'm sure it's Thursday. The 29th? Yeah, Thursday the 29th. Tune in, be a subscriber, get your bonus meeps. And then you could win one of 3 minis that I have chosen. Either, there you go, finished horns as far as the airbrush is concerned. Soft, very natural, gradual blends. They come with a brush, hit some shadows, hit some highlights, get the gold in, bam, done. You could win either Sergeant Ripper Jackson, who, let's be fair, is a very, very cool Imperial Guard mini. Really, really cool mini. Can't wait to paint that at some point. Kyra Draxus, who has a fucking dragon. What's not to love? Dragons in 40k. Or, if you don't fancy either of those two, you could choose the contents of the mystery box. Now in here is a mini. I'm not going to tell you what mini, but in here is a mini. It's kind of clunky, as you can hear. So this could be anything large. It could be something metal, perhaps. It could be something resin, maybe. It's not fine cast, because you can't do that with fine cast. So there's a lot of things that this could be. So have a think. On Thursday, you could choose one of those 3, painted in the colour scheme of your choice. Right, let's get Maggie's wings put on him. And then Mr. Rocky can see Magnus in his utter beast mode version. Right, I've got a support, a little plinth, and that wing. Rocky, here you go. This is some of the base. Got a little bit of work to do just to get in position correctly. That's why you're just sort of floating a second off the base, but there's that base hook with all that lovely Rival Craft stuff going on. We've done the orb today, that bright blue. That brings you through into Maggie himself, looking like a fucking boss. And then those wings to frame the whole piece. How sick does he look? How sick does that look? Outstretched hand above the flames, siphoning that power. I fucking love this. Right, quick flush through the airbrush and we'll go into the whip. So if you've got something that you would like to share with the community here and the stream and the VOD and all that, then exclamation point Discord. Rocky, sorry to hear you've been having a rough time as well, man. That sucks. Let's go to the whip. So today, during the stream, Lulu, I didn't even see you online, dude. Do you think it's going to be a performance enhancer? Or do you think Magnus is going to be far more manly and cause an issue? So here we go, Lulu. Working on this dude, going for a statue/mountain theme. Hashtag battle cattle. Okay. It's a green cow. I see a lot of dry brushing, which I'm... Wait, that can't be the finished article. I think it is. So you've got all this reindeer moss stuck to something that's been dry brushed a little bit green and a little bit... So it's like a statue. Resub but hasn't worked. Ah, okay. Nowhere near finished. Alright, good. Because if I'm honest, mate, I'm not loving this at all. I get the idea. Like, I understand that the statue kind of look to things. And I like the sort of lichen that you've got on there. Lichen, sorry. But have you thought about using powders instead of using a dry brush? Okay, cool. Loads of hours out. Alright. Maybe this will work out for you then, man. You need to obviously get some shades in there, get those recesses looked after a little bit. I would strongly consider using powders because to me they provide the most realistic looking stone effect. Go and watch the video we did from Thursday night where we did Magnus's base with a fuck ton of powders from Rival Crafts. Can't find a good green pigment powder right now. I used Vallejo green something. Vallejo faded olive green. If I flick back quick to my work. These green patches were picked out with this stuff. Yeah, so it's a nice, fairly bright, verdant colour to use for that sort of thing. Same here. And a lot of the green on the base just in general. You see a couple of patches like right down here and so on. This is a good one. You skip the soup as I posted something else. Soup. Okay. But keep us updated, Lulu. Show us what you got. Crazy Ank, not finished but it's getting there. Mine is sat right behind me. Dude, that looks sick. I like it. So you're doing about the same sort of thing that I'll be doing with mine, which is obviously all the lightning in one color. You get your black stone in another color, your metals, and your sort of Catan metal. So the Catan metal and the Necron metal are two different ones in my eyes. You're going with a similar kind of theme, so I really like this. Keep it up, dude. Tau soup, I've stripped them, now rinsing them. Nice. I quite like Virgil's. That's alright. Oh yeah. Sorry, buddy. That was Crazy Yank and his dude. Thanks, guys. Des says switch camera. What, again? Tau soup. Getting restripped. Jager. Oh, here we go. All I got so far. I'm not sure if I'm going to Zenithal yet. No idea what the best thing will be for these lines to get a pass of it from, or would it suit my scheme yet? End of the day, if you do any kind of gradient, you may as well do a Zenithal. Unless your gradient is going to be way, way stronger than a Zenithal could ever be. As far as a Zenithal, it's almost always going to be from the top down. I tend to do it at about 45 degrees to keep it nice and soft and a bit more gradual with the highlights. You can keep it as tight as you like. You can do it from literally 12 o'clock midday, the zenith, which is what it's actually meant to be, and you get very sharp, very exaggerated shadows. So that's what you need to think about, is how soft do I want my shadows to be. Once you've worked that out, then you can choose to do it or not. But to be honest, I probably would. You know, it's a solid way of getting any airbrush work done. Gives you a natural highlight, which on a Tyranid army is actually not bad at all. Danny, new desk backdrop stopped me dropping shit off the back. Well, that's just a bit flash, that, isn't it? Nice, mate. Very nice. Show off. Kingfisher Games. Well, this guy's been wrapped up, but very happy with him. I'm struggling to... Oh, there we go. We got a better angle. So this is a Space Marine Dreadnought, ironclad, I think, because I recognise that's a seismic hammer, I think, on the arm, with a load of Tyranid bits on. We got, here you go, front shot. So I'm guessing from the banner, at least he's a salamander. Okay. Okay, cool. I understand what I'm looking at now. Not a bad attempt, mate. Your paint looks very thick in places, though. So what I would suggest is, you saw how thin we were working on tonight's stream. Admittedly, a lot of that was through the airbrush, but even when we were doing the brushed highlights on that little blue orb, everything there was still really, really, really thin. And it's almost always better to do a thin coat 2, 3, 4 times if necessary to get nice smooth coverage, than use one coat and sort of slap it on a bit thick. And the reason I suggest that this might be on a little bit thick is there are places you can see sort of through elements of the paint, especially on the green for the main armor and some of the bone elements that you've got there. But otherwise, you've got the paint in the right places. You've got a good color scheme, done some conversion work, which is crazy AF, but I don't dislike it. It looks good. Keep it up. Right, Toonie Sprues, take 2, he says. Has this been primed? Or has this been... Yeah, it's been primed. There you go. Getting some priming done. Last one is getting better, I think. Definitely. So, even with a prime, sometimes you'll need 2 or 3 passes to get it fully on there. Yeah, you're never the same as we were just saying with your brush strokes, right? And using the paint to be the right thickness rather than just like one thick coat. Airbrush priming could be exactly the same thing. It can take 2 or 3 passes to get a full coverage without flooding your model. Sea-Doo TV, thank you very much for that follow. And welcome. How you doing? So prime it once, prime it again, and if I were you, I'd get your shot glasses out. You know, get your sub assemblies on with that rather than picking things up in your hands. Sons of Rolo, still a whip doing the leaves next. This is nice. I like the bone and the brown. I really like, and we were talking about this on the last stream, I really like the fact that the skulls, which are obviously bone, you've done in a different white colour than you have done from the bone colour. It helps keep them standing out. So we're looking at some Warcry scenery on the last stream, where the skulls were the same colour as the wooden surround, and it's made a massive difference. It's not a sub-Discord, anyone can come and join the Discord, mate. If you're going to put up some pictures of your work in progress, then 3 or less, but go for it. like that green that you've used as well. That would give it a little bit of richness without being, you know, too much. With the leaves, you're doing like reds and ambers and things like that. I do really like these minis. I'm never going to play AOS, but I do really like them. This is probably one of my favourite armies in all of regular Warhammer. Nice, mate. I think they'd look really, really good like that. How are you going to do the sword? Same sort of colours, or are you going to go something else? Right, Commissar Alfarius. Here's Bob and his new Marine. Just some whip, BA Successor Marines, did some more highlights on the Intercessor. Right, let's have a look. In fact, let's get right up and have a look. So yes, we can see highlights now. This is good. I'd still suggest getting some brown and just going into some of the lines on the arm there. So he's got the glove, and then he's got that little wrist protector. And just in between the two, there's a really nice line. You just get in there with a nice darker colour. You can use red mixed with brown. You can just use a brown wash. You can use whatever you want, just to get through like all of those little creases. And on the shoulder pad, you've got that gold trim, and then you've got the red. I can see your highlights are there. That's great. But to get the most power out of that, just do a quick line with some wash right up against that gold. Yeah. And what that will do is it will perform a nice barrier. Saw it on the stream tonight when we were doing the blue orb, that little blue line of shadow we put in, yeah? Just pop that in between the red and the gold. It'll put a nice line through there. It'll make the gold and the red both stand out more, and it'll make your highlights appear brighter because they're next to something darker. So that was my my sort of biggest like piece of advice, and it usually is to most people, in fact, is to up the contrast by providing shadow as well as highlights. Definitely would help your Marines out. It takes time. Panel lining a Marine is not the most fun thing ever, but it's an important skill. So the way I highlight, excuse me, sorry about that. The way I do my highlights, I don't have to hit every highlight, but I can get away with that because I do hit all of the shadows. So think about it that way. And then we've got what looks like the Chaplain. I love this model. He looks so cool. Looks like you've done a lot of the red, got the base coats down in the black, a little bit of base coats on the flesh. Plenty of work left to do, mate. What do you use for panel lining? A brush and then some sort of wash. That's it. You can use oils. You can use like panel lining stuff. There is like a panel liner and so on that you can buy, but I genuinely just use whatever wash, like blue, black, brown, purple. Those are the usual ones, and go from there. There's got a load of stuff base coat to a tabletop ready sort of stage this week. We'll obviously go back and do washes, highlights, and tidying. These can feel done without losing 10 points. Oh, here we go. Power gamer. Look at you. Nice, dude. Getting those Outriders going on. Grav devs. Thank God that strat doesn't exist anymore. And some Inceptors. Very nice. Ugh, sorry, it's late, so I'm yawning. I'm tired now. Look at the eyes. You know. It's just where we're at. Nice, mate. Well done. You've managed to tidy up that horrible fucking gap that the Outrider bikes have in that top section as well. Working on this dude, but then, again, loads more to do. Try using Corvus Black instead of Abaddon this time. What's Corvus Black? Is that a different Games Workshop Black? Tamiya panel liner can eat and crack plastic, but it's not been gloss coated first. Wow. Didn't know that. They're still solid. Yeah. This looks good, dude. I love how bright that pistol is. Nice. 2 people painting that chap in there. Right, Quid. Still loads of Nurgle bits to sculpt. Not sure I like the look of it. Might make another one in a more grim, dark style. So I saw something the other day and I immediately thought of you. Somebody who has done a similar thing with a War Dog, but using Beast of Nurgle parts. Like the weird tentacle polyp things that he's got. I think you've done a really good job with the arms. If I'm honest, I had my reservations when I first saw you doing this. I couldn't see how you were going to get all of these bits to work. But I think you've done it. Like, you're not sold. I think maybe he's a little bit skinny. Across the shoulders, I mean. The hips look about right, but the shoulders maybe just a little like petite. But I like it, mate. You've done a lot better with that than I thought it was going to come out. So I say you should keep going. You've made me a believer. There you go. Our Shugart, Sternguard in the final stages. Christ. These have been around for a while, these, haven't they? I'm trying to work out if there's a metal or resin. Nice work though, mate. I love that little tilt shield the kneeling down dude's got. And that grav gun is gigantic in that dude's hand. Still got a plastic now? Fuck, I didn't know that. Wow, okay. I thought they were... Damn. Young Meat 98. Look at this. Firstly, that is a fantastic outdoor play area. Big fan. Secondly, getting some modular terrain down. Dude. Nice work. Everything's blue and white. I mean, is this just because that's what you've got to sculpt with, or are you doing some sort of ice table, or what? What's the deal? I like how you're young Gandalf there and young Meat here. Twitch maybe didn't approve of one of those two names. Doing plaster everything soon. Oh, nice, man. Cool. Keep us up to date, man. I love seeing battle tables come together. I haven't made one since I was at GW, and that was a long time ago. So, keep going. Saragon, I think I'm done smashing my head against these. Not a huge fan of how they are right now, but I've learned a ton. The next iteration will be better. Okay. Get that Crown Royal out, mate. That'll help you sort out. See that black base rim just tidies everything up a little bit. Makes it easy to focus on what's there. I still think they should be darker, so more brown and black mixed together for that kind of rotting bogwood, peaty kind of colour. But, like you said, you've learned quite a lot. It's been an experience. You can carry on. Put some towel on there. See what you think then. Yeah, put the mini it's meant to be on there. See what happens. C-Dude, my 4th miniature painted ever. Watched 15 hours of painting tutorials. Okay, we'll do the front shot first. Not bad. First mini ever. Definitely way better than my first mini ever. You've got highlights in the right places. Some of them are applied very well. Some of them are applied, we'll say. Like look at the hand, his left hand. Got the knuckles, got the ridges on the hand. They're spot on. Yeah, so you've mastered some of highlighting already. then other parts of it, like if you look at his right foot, that one's a little less good. So what you can do is you know how when you highlight, you're putting a brighter color on something. If you make too much of that, too thick of a line, you just go back with your base color and take some of that away. So it's called subtraction, right? So let's say you've painted a line and it's this thick, yeah? Oh shit, that's way too thick. You just come in and you paint your base coat over this bit, and so you've just got a smaller, thinner highlight again. And you could do that on that part of his ankle. So if you take some of the base green that you used for his armor and just paint it in towards the recess and let some of that come forward and just skinny down the highlight a little bit, you'd be fine. Just thin it down a little bit, do 2 passes rather than try and get one thick coat in there. Way easier than repainting and starting again sometimes, especially if your highlights are becoming a bit complex. You're going through blends and mixes and working things up from there. So nice easy fix for when you make a mistake like that. Other than that, I think you've kind of got a little heavy on with your gold metallics. The rope looks a little bit chunky. Looks like it's been sort of piped rather than is a rope. To be fair, mate, 4 minis in, you're smashing it. Like, I've been critical because I think it'll help you out. Any tips for fixing that? Not really. About the only thing you can do, and it's worth giving it a go for the practice if you want. But maybe you just draw a line underneath that one and go, cool, I've learned something from now. Next time, thin your paint. Even metallic paints can be thinned, just a little bit of water. If you want to fix it, what you can do is you can basically freehand the detail back on. Your rope's gone a little bit like a jelly baby. You can see like the essence of a shape. It's a person, but that's all you can see is that it is a person. So if you take some like dark brown or purple and then sort of draw in the lines of the rope, so the cord and so on, you could go from there. See, dude, you can thin anything. You just need water as well. I keep a bottle of water for cleaning the airbrush, and I keep a tiny little dropper bottle of just water to put onto my palette when I need it to just help me mix things in. Always put the water off to the side of your palette, put your brush in there so it's nice and clean, and then mix in a little bit of paint each time, rather than drop a load of water into your paint and thin all that down at once. You've got no control over it that way. But good work, man. Honestly, 4th mini, you're fucking brilliant. Stanky baby, just paint Azrael. Nice, dude. I smell heresy. All of the heresy. Overall, I like what's going on here. With your robes, you could probably get the recesses a little bit darker. So some of those real creases there, you could maybe go in there with either like a sepia wash, or even just a brown that you sort of thin down it to get towards that sort of stage, and just pick out some of the darkest areas on the creases. On all of the guys, it'll help out. And then when you do your highlights, just do a quick highlight around those to really lift up those, get that maximum contrast in, and you'll be singing, mate. Nice on the bases though. Like a little bit of sort of mossy vegetation you've got going on. And it's Sear. Forgot to post this. Only basing left now. We've got the Death Guard Smelly Flamer, dude. Look at that eyeball. He's got Forrest Whitaker eye. That's what he's got. I like it, mate. Very much new school GW Death Guard. Love that little nurgling. He's super sick. Did you mean to get some of the green slop on top of that grenade? Here's what I was hoping to see. Right. Okay, so your fuel tank, you've got some bubbles on there you've painted on. I like that a lot. That's good. What you can do though is get some highlights on that cracked bit of glass. So if you take some oh, I see the drip now on the top of the thing and off the back. Nice. If you take some like a lightish grey, like GW's Administratum grey, and just do the top of each edge. So you're painting, so the flat pane of glass is there, you've got the cracks in the glass, the bit of the glass that's below the crack, you're painting the top lines on all of that, and that will just help to accentuate the fact that there has been that break there, and the cracks in the glass are picking up the light and refracting it the same way it would do. It's essentially a crystal at that point. So all of the top parts of the glass below the cracks get a little bit of very thin grey highlights on there, and then towards the corners just get a tiny bit of white and just pop that in on the corners to really finish that off. It's a really easy way of just making the glass effect just a little bit more than it currently is. I like it though, mate. The fact you've done the bubbles as well, that's big. Well done. And that is it. Cake Fisk, you just got there in time. Squad, get in there. Are these Arcanaut people? Yes. So you and Crownblade both painting these. I like these. The little inclusion of the little purple helmets. I like that a lot, actually. I don't know what this guy's carrying, but that is a gun. Ugh. Yeah, nice, dude. Keep it up. Using your pumice on those bases, that's good. Yeah, nice work, champ. Keep going. Right, that is it. We are all whipped out. I am dead now. Once again, here's Maggie. So tonight, we worked on this. The blue for our unholy orb of Zench, or whatever we're going to call that. We did all of the base work for our horns. So these really big ones, these go on the head of Magnus. These are the nipple horns. Gonna get those done off stream. Might be finishing those off perhaps on the Hellstorm Wargaming stream tomorrow night. So tune in there at 6 PM UK time. Remember, our clocks have changed over here for anyone that lives outside of the UK. Then it will be Tuesday night live at 9, and then Thursday for the giveaway stream, where you could win a £50 hobby voucher or one of those 3 minis painted by Mini Color Scheme of your choice. That is the Katachan Sergeant, the new Inquisitor for 40k, and then of course possibly the contents of the mystery box. Who knows? Let's go find someone on Twitch to get a raid off to. See who's streaming. She's been quiet recently. I know where we're going. How can we not? Let's go chill out with Steiner Miniatures. He was here earlier on. Let's go give him some love. I want all of the emotes spammed in this chat as well. Really fired them in there. Take care, guys. See you soon.